Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
After a hard day of working on the ship, nothing relaxes me like building a smaller version of the ship.
Now we just have to get the tiny deflector shields online.
Good morning and happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to week 2 on the Cerritos / Cali class build. Don't know exactly how much we'll get done this week with the major holiday smack dab in the middle of it, but we'll see. What I want to do is remove the sled, the warp engines from the tabletop here, so they're out of the way and not confusing things. We are going to be concentrating on the saucer to begin with, and then putting the whole thing together. Hopefully the saucer won't be as time-consuming to light as the sled here turned out to be. Gotta get the let me see. I gotta get the. There we go. Get the cap back on here. Now, I was asked at one point last week whether I was going to put masks on the front of the nacelles there. Looking at the video, looking at the episodes, when those things are lit, there is no definitive black ring there. So I think we're going to leave that as best we can. Just leave it where it is. When it shines, the thickness of that ring there takes care of what it needs to take care of. So we're going to leave that pretty much as it is. So we're going to put this to the side. We're going to pull out the supplies here, and we're going to start working on the saucer. Okay, well, the first thing I wanted to do in lighting the saucer was to determine whether or not I would be able to fit a string of, string of LED tape, length of it, in there, not laying down flat like I had done on the Helios Enterprise, not doing that, because that's just light leaks waiting to happen. But I wanted to see if there was enough room to lay it up on its side like that, and there is. That's the good news. So I've cut a strip of sheet stock to give me some reinforcing, and I can lay it in there just like this and put the tape along the outside shining out, which will do a lot of things for me. It mostly will channel all of my lighting out here where the windows are, out to the point where it's going to actually do me any good. And also it's going to make it easier to block what's going on the inside of that perimeter. Now, there are windows it'll take care of this, plus it'll direct it towards the outside rim. Now, the outside rim is going to be tough to light because there's just so many obstacles in the way. There is this reinforcing seam. There is the insert for the windows, which adds another layer of plastic. So we're going to see how much of that we're actually going to be able to do. But the important thing is it's going to allow me to do the lighting that I wish to do. Let's see, all of my lighting that happens on the outside happens on the outside of that. It all happens in, I don't have a pencil, it all happens in this small strip of the edge. Now, the top windows, there's actually a string of windows that goes inside there, so it might end up blocking those. We'll have to see how far in those are. That strip of windows, when I cover them up, yeah, it might be on the wrong side of that. We'll have to see how it turns out. Yeah, I've got the lights glued to the rim, the ring that's in there. Put a ring of sheet of just styrene stock, and then I stuck the lights to the back of that, and this is what it looks like. Now, you can see whole bunches of light leaks, or you can see how thin the plastic is right in through here, and you can see that it is in fact lighting up all the windows top and bottom like I was hoping. And if you go through it with a X-Acto knife when you're done, you can scratch open the windows that you want to show nice and bright. and they will shine out nicely. Now, what I need to do at this point is to block the areas where I don't want light to shine, most likely from the underside, and that's going to be easier to do obviously now before we glue it together. But what I'd like to do is to map out. There's a window here that has been taped off. That's going to shine out forward. There's a light right here that I'm going to see if I can scrape it with the paint. Is that going to be enough, or do I need to put an actual LED up against it? And that's the light that's meant to shine out over the registry, which is here. We've got on the underside, we've got a light that's going to shine out through there. We've got room to add the strip for the not only the impulse engines, but there are some white lights in between the impulse engines. Now this is where I wanted to see how much light spill we were going to get on these rim lights. If I wanted to do that and then nick the paint, well, you might end up seeing a tiny window that way. I'm not counting on a lot of it. I'm counting on doing mostly these top and bottom windows rather than the rim windows, which in this case would be skylights and floor lights here. I always wondered why they would put windows on the bottom when basically it means they are on the floor of the deck. Okay, now that we know that we can fit a string of lights in there, and the saucer will close up around it just fine, I'll pry these two halves apart again so that you can see what I've gotten done here. And we can start mapping out our light blocking. But you can see it's just a simple ring. Just a simple ring of lights right here. And I'm going to clear off the light table here so that I can flip this upside down and map out the area where my silver tape needs to go. Alrighty, as you can see, I've been cutting some big black circles. Big black circles in vinyl, and what that's doing is I'm using that for the interior light blocking. So that when you hook up power to that, and let me see what happens if I just do this. Put a battery on it. Let's see, battery is on it. Yes. You see light only coming up where the windows are. If I can further eliminate any extraneous light, then it's only coming up where the windows are. Then that's something I don't have to worry about painting. And if I use black vinyl, I don't have to worry about it shorting out like the silver tape might. I'm using silver tape on the bottom. I thought about that after a while. So wait a minute, why don't I just cut them in black vinyl? Stuck the black vinyl down, has the same effect as putting electrical tape on it, and it isolates those two banks of windows. So that's a yay, a good, and a happy. Now I can, I think if I wanted to, I could paint just around this outside edge here, where you can see the windows don't go all the way out to the edge. Maybe if I painted that with some of that black Mission Models black paint around that edge, that will further isolate those windows. Morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. It is Christmas Eve day, 24th of December. How you doing? Getting ready to go to do family stuff, but I still have time this morning to get a couple of things knocked out before that happens. The time has come to paint the mustard yellow stripe on here. Now, because of the way this ship is built, it's engineered, the way the kit is done, I have to paint the bottom of this before I attach the pylons and the nacelles, because once that happens, this area is not going to be very easy to get to. It's kind of like painting the Reliant, where you kind of have to do the top deck before you attach the roll bar. It's this ship is very much like an inverted Miranda class in that respect. So what I'd like to do is to paint just a rough area of where the gold or the yellow stripe is going to be. I'm using the construction yellow for the for that color, but it basically needs to be in this area. And then you can see I've got the lifeboats painted, broadly. They are they're masked over, but they were sprayed with the German gray. The phaser strip was also similarly painted broadly with, I believe it was a combination of field blue, and then I did some light blue over top of it, just to give it that accent color. That's all that's going to happen. In this area, I've got the impulse engines in, but I'm not going to need to worry about masking those just yet, because I only need to worry about what's going on in this area up here where that stripe is. Now the same thing has to happen on the top of the saucer. I have to paint this area where the stripe is, but it's also going to mean kind of a forward and reverse masking, if that makes any sense. I want to go ahead and mask these lifeboats and these lifeboats off. What's going to happen is then I'm going to broadly paint in that gold colored stripe, and then I'm going to put the positive of the stripe down. First I'm going to paint the broad area, put the positive of the stripe down over top of the broad area, and that's going to allow me to go back in here and touch this German gray back up once that has been separated out and masked off. And then after all of that has been done, I got to do the sky gray over top of this. So what this needs to have done right away is I need to mask this phaser strip and these lifeboats. Alrighty, it's time to paint the yellow. I've got the outer masks on the lower saucer. We will be painting yellow inside there. I've got to tape off to the outside of that edge just to protect it. Actually, I know I don't really need to do that, since I'm going to be painting the sky gray over top of the whole thing again anyway. So as long as I'm nice and careful, I can get away with just painting this without putting any bigger masking on it. I think I might go ahead and clean, like just try to keep these areas clean. But this is it for the bottom. And now for the top, same deal. I am ready to spray this yellow, and I've also got the yellow areas masked off on the sled part, the nacelles. There's this big shape on the bottom, and then there are the two pennants and the two stripes on the top of the engineering section. So all of that is ready to go. I'm ready to pull out the yellow paint, and looking at the clock, it's 1:15, and I think this might be the last big stuff I get painted today, and then I'll come back after Christmas and take the masks off and do the sky gray. So let's get the again, this is the heavy equipment yellow mission models. It's a mustardy yellow. It's not a bright yellow, but it's not quite the to me a dark yellow. It's just a good again, it's a heavy construction equipment yellow. I wish there was a good, to me, equivalent to this, but I haven't found it. The yellow green isn't quite this. The chrome yellow isn't quite this. Without mixing, their yellow with some buff, you're just never going to get this good creamy yellow. Okay, it's been a while since I used the Mission Models paints, and I had forgotten that their tendency was to go on runny, and then to once they started drying, the colors, the pigments would become flatter and better coverage. So the result of that is you end up plastering it on because you don't think you're getting the coverage you want. and then it ends up drying and looking just nice. But in the meantime, you've put on way too much paint, and that's kind of where I'm at. So I had to back up and stop, realizing that I had put a light coat of the mustard yellow on, and it didn't look like it was covering. So when it started getting real runny, I just stopped painting, and then came back to it after a while and saw that it had dried in nice and flat. So I touched up a couple of spots, and then I left it alone again, and now I am ready to take. I took all the outer painter's tape off. Now I'm ready to take the vinyl off and show you what the final results are. We'll start under here. That needs touched up. I'm not wild about that. That was an experiment. I wasn't banking on that being the final result. Okay, let's see what how these are looking. Yeah, see, here's what I was afraid of. I ended up, because the paint was so watery, it ended up getting underneath the masking, which is why I'm kind of glad that I got a clear coat under these, so I can clean those back up. Yeah, see, this will be fine. I just it'll involve some touching up. See. I could have used decals for these, but I chose not to because I wanted them to match the color of the painted yellow that was going to be on the saucer. Yeah, see, I did the paint way too runny on this. Okay, so we've got some cleaning up to do. Now see, that's nice and clean there. That's a whole lot cleaner than the other side. Lovely. That came out nice. Okay, now the big ones. Let's see how they did here. And here you can see the halo of the paint that was overspray. Yeah, that's the phaser strip that's still masked under there, so that's good. Okay, outside of redoing that bottom of the pontoon, I think we're in good shape. Let me see, this is the last one here. Yeah, so you know what's going to happen is I'm going to take the positive shapes that I've got of these stripes, and I'm going to lay them down over top of the painted bits here, and then when I do the sky painting, the sky gray painting, these will be protected, and the strip and the lifeboats will have the same protection. I've got to go back in and I've got to repaint the, and you know, that's something I could probably do now as one last thing before I take off for the day, is to go ahead and put on the German gray, repainting the German gray there. I just have to make sure that I don't touch anywhere near where this paint is. Morning, everybody. How you doing? It's December 26th. It is the day after Christmas, also known as Boxing Day. And yesterday I did a little bit of work, but I didn't want to turn the camera on because it was a lot of work. What I did was I painted the bottom of the saucer. And what you see under here are masks, and then I touched up the German gray on top of that. But I'll go ahead and remove the masking that is left on here. What happened is I did this. I Put the surrounding masks on, and then I painted the yellow stripe. Took those surrounding masks off, and now I've put down the positive part. It's tough to tell because it's the yellow tape that is the same color as the paint that I'm using pretty much, but this is the yellow positive shape of that stripe, and that's what I have here. Now once I did that, I painted the sky gray over top of everything. So what you're seeing here is the phaser strip that's got some masking on it. I'll go ahead and pull that off. That's the phaser strip. I've got all of these lifeboats masked. I'm not going to pull them all off on camera, but you can see what happens is once I pull those off, you can see the nice German gray that's underneath that for all of the lifeboats. There's another one there. But the big one is the yellow stripe. So let me pull the tape off of that, and this will reveal the painted yellow stripe. Ooh, look at that, nice and clean. Nice and clean. And the reason I had to do this much work on the bottom of the saucer is I need to join up the nacelles with it, the sled. And that's going to be tough to paint once those are all joined up. So I wanted to go ahead and take care of that now. So now I can attach the nacelles to it. But there you go, that's the painted stripe. Lovely. I'll take all the rest of these masks off, and then what's left to do is taking my little pick tool here, is basically scraping open all of the windows. It's not a tough thing to do, it's just tedious. Just scratch them all open. Let me see what happens when I put a battery on that to show you how the windows are looking. There you go. So you can see the windows that are scratched open. And you see whether whether that light block is going to be a problem. No, I mean it's a little bit thin in this area here, but not horrible. And of course you can see that's how I painted the impulse engine. So go ahead and finish taking the masks off of that, because then we can attach it to this. Now I painted these yesterday, the other day, and I took the masks off so you can see how they look. This has had a flat coat on it. I'm ready to attach it to the bottom saucer, and then we can address the top saucer, and I'll be doing that today. Okay, so I'm working on the lower saucer, and I'm just chipping out these windows. Got a nice little hook probe here. You can pick these up most anywhere. I think I got this at Harbor Freight actually, but it's just a pick, and I've got it nice and clean. I even sanded it a little bit to sharpen it, and I'm just scraping out the paint that has graciously collected in these window recesses. You just have to make sure that it doesn't jump out of the hole and scratch the top of the saucer, or else you'll find yourself touching up that paint with a little bit of out of the bottle hand painting. Now that's something I'd like to address, because I think that's a big misconception, and that is that people think that if they are airbrushing something, then that's all they need to do. Or using masking templates for something, that's all they need to do. No, there's still a good amount of hand painting you will find that you are doing. Even if you use all the tricks in the book, you will still find yourself painting things by hand and touching up paint. The idea of using templates and an airbrush is to cut down the amount of time it's going to take to ultimately paint your ship, but it's no substitute for getting in there with a brush and touching up your paint by hand. Now, I am noticing here, particularly on this side, not so much along the front, but on this side, I am noticing a whole bunch of light leak here where the sky gray that I painted is not as thick as I would like it to be. I think what I'm going to do, even after I have scraped this quadrant, is I am going to cordon off this area, and I think it could stand to, oh, see, I just went over the top. I think it could stand to have another pass of the sky gray just in this area over top of these windows, and then once that dries, I'll re-scrape them. I'm not noticing, well, noticing a spot right in here. I think I need to I'll make a mark there so that I know, like, this is fine mostly here. All through this area I can see that I could stand to put a new coat of hopefully you're seeing that. You're seeing the cleaned out windows, but I'm still seeing some somewhere this blocking didn't happen here. You got to leave some of it open, so I think I need to repaint some of that with sky gray and then clean out those windows. I'm not going to do a bunch of masking. I'm just going to hold stuff down in the way and do a light pass of the sky gray over the top of that. Okay, the painting of details is continuing. One last thing to do now before I do the final touch-ups is to remove the masking here over the yellow stripe, so we can see how that turned out. Let me get it started. Come on. Gently. There we go. Okay, we got this started. That's where it was cut into two pieces. There we be. Nice yellow stripe. I can see a little bit of hand touching up right in that spot there with the sky gray color. And then I think, well, we need to scratch the windows off. That's what we need to do. I knew there was something I was forgetting. Scratch the windows, and then we can hit it with a clear coat. All right, so I've got the windows are all scratched out, and I have got the top and bottom saucer ready for a clear coating. So let's do that now, and then we can take a little bit of a break. And here is where we're going to leave it sit for tonight. I've got everything wired. I've got the two halves of the saucer glued and clamped. We're going to let that sit up. If I stick a battery onto it, you will see that it looks a bit like this. Checking the lights, everything seems to still be working. Yay, happy. Of course, we'll address the saucer edge windows tomorrow if we're going to be able to do anything with them at all. Got some light leakage here. I can see that might need addressing. I've got a nice, these red spots going out, which look nice. Yeah, I think we're doing about as good as we can do with this kit at this point. Okay, so I've taken all the clamps off. Everything is set up for a while. Everything is looking good and solid. I can still see there's some touching up to do, but there's one last job I can do tonight, and that is I can put in the saucer edge parts. I'll go ahead and put this on its, well, no, I can't put it on the stand because that's where the wiring is coming out. Let me go ahead and put the saucer edge, not sausage, saucer edge pieces in. And then all we'll have to do tomorrow is do a little bit of touch-up, a couple of decals, and she'll be done. So let's do that bit right now. Okay, so that's a much better place to leave it for the night. I've got all the edge pieces in. This last one here was a little more difficult, the long skinny one. So I'm just taping it down and reinforcing it and letting it bend it back into shape. And we're in very good shape for tomorrow. Now I've got a decal that has to go there. I've got some little spot thruster decals that need to go on. And then it's just a question of touching up the paint around the edge of the saucer. That would be the German gray on these little indents, and the sky gray just to catch any snags that we had along the way. But we are at this point, I'd say we're in the 90s. We're 92 to 94% done at this point. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. It's the last work day on the Cerritos. And I was vacillating. I was wavering. I was flip-flopping back and forth, which is how you flip-flop if you're going to do it appropriately. I was flip-flopping. Do I want to run this on a battery? Do I want to run it on a wall wart? If I was going to use a battery, I would just use one of these simple 9-volt battery packs, 2 wires, Bob's your uncle, and you're done. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit very well in this base, in the dome bases that Round 2 uses, which they're fine bases. They're fine. It's a good standard base, but you can't fit a battery pack inside it very easily without adding to that base. What you can do is you can hide a switch, or you can put a switch on the top and then hide a wall wart jack, one of these guys. You can hide that inside there and make a nice level base out of it that way. So what I was thinking was, because this is not going to be the last Cerritos that I build. Do I want to spend all that time and energy on a really fancy base? Or do I just want to put a battery in it and be done? Well, the battery I have, 9-volt, it's not the freshest battery in the world, I know. But when I saw how much better everything got lit up when I used the, there, look at that. When I used the 9-volt wall wart, the lights were just so much brighter there. So I figured it would be a better thing to go ahead and use that as my light. So what I need to do now is to make the alterations to this base so that I can wire it that way. But look at all the you can see how well the windows got lit up. This I'm wondering about. This is new. That's the only spot that I have that weakness on. So no, there's a spot back here. So I'm thinking a little bit of a spray of paint to touch that up and fix that. Now, I am not, because it would be a gigantic can of worms to open at this late stage. I am not going to open up all of these windows like that. That would be it would be an impossible task once you start. If I were to do something like that, let's just see. And I just see it. Let me see. No, it wouldn't be a practical thing to do to go ahead and try to cut windows into all of those. If I had something that I could make a standardized size with, I might be tempted into doing that, but I don't think that's going to be an issue to worry about. So I need to go ahead and put some more paint on that light block area, and then work on the base for today. Got one last decal to go on here, and then we'll be done with the ship. Okay, I'm touching up the paint around the saucer rim, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am getting out stuff to do the decals with. Now, just because I painted the stripes on doesn't mean that there aren't still some decals that need to be done, and they are, by and large, maneuvering thrusters. They're these guys. You've seen them. They're standard on your finer starships all have these maneuvering thrusters. Now, the kit also comes with, and this is something I alluded to last week, also comes with alternate registries so that you can, of course, make the Cerritos, but there are two other ships that you can choose to paint. They are the Vacaville and the Alhambra. And you may ask, those are odd choices. Why would you choose those two? Out of all of the wonderful small towns in California that they made starships, why would you choose those two? Well, the secret is, it's very simple. The Vacaville and the Alhambra also have the yellow stripe on them. Other ships have other colored stripes. So they chose the ones that they could use where they could get the most out of the vinyl, or not the vinyl, the decals that come with the kit. Now, it is true that they are coming out with wallpaper decals for this kit. They will also have multicolored stripes in those. I'm trying to find a picture of it, and I'm not seeing it on the box art. It must be, additional color schemes for the California class. Explore the options in the Aztek decal set, which has not been released yet, at least not as of this date in December. But the two that we have decals for have the yellow or the gold pennants and the gold stripe. That's why we can use that. Now, it is true that there are options. When you saw the episode that had all of the California class ships in it, where big swath of color here, some have a big red chunk on the front of their saucer, and you can do all of that you want with mostly straight painter's tape. You might have to cut like one curve in it where it meets this hull. Some of them have this bit of the hull a different color. It's different color schemes. Go back and watch the series for another run. It's a good reason just to see alternate paint jobs. Now, I had thought originally of releasing painting masks for all of those, but there's a ton of them. And it would be putting them in one set, or it would be a inventory nightmare keeping them all straight. So I would suggest that if you're going to paint something from another one of the ships in the fleet, you can do most of that. What you need to do with straight painter's tape. So we are making the Cerritos. So we need this decal to go right here, and I've put a little bit of gloss varnish just under where that decal is going. That's why you can see the difference in the sheen there. Once that dries, I'll put the decals down, and then we'll give the whole thing a flat coat of spray when we're done, and then we'll be ready to wire it to the base. But right now I'm looking at where the directional thrusters go, navigational thrusters, and there's only two on the top of the saucer, here and here. And then there are the rest of them are down on the back of the rear of the nacelles. So waiting for that clear paint to dry just a little bit more, and then we can put those down. I'm trying to see if I can tell what are the additional ships that are going to be available in the... let me get my magnifiers on here. When they get the new decal sheet out, I'm looking, and it looks like... Oh, it's tough to read them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional names here. And you can tell there are three additional color stripes, 5 additional names, and yeah, I just can't quite read them from here. But this will allow you to make more ships in the fleet, which, if you use my paint masks, you can already make those additional colors just by painting that. But you will need to get their decals for the white registry name. The white registry name and number. Let me see. That is That's the top of the box. Why aren't I seeing the bottom of my box? Where is my box? Oh, here it is. That's why I couldn't see it. Yes, here you can see this back sheet that's buried underneath. That's got your additional color stripes. That will, when that decal set comes out, it will include 5 9x13 decal sheets that do the paneling, and then additional California class color schemes and registries. That's what that is. Looks like there's a blue, a red, and a not quite a yellow, maybe a brown that's on there. So those adventures lie ahead for the next build. So that's dry enough. I think we're going to recreate the scene in the episode that I've been using in this video, and we're going to put down the Cerritos name and go from there. Okay, the registry is on. I'll tell you, it was fighting me, and I'll tell you why it was fighting me. Because it is unusual. Not only does it not go up front like you would expect most registries to do, so it's in a weird place to start with. It's a weird name and number balance because it's not 1701. It's not 4 letters or 4 letters dash 4 numbers, or 3 letters dash 4 numbers. It's off balance that way, so my center mark is not where I'm used to seeing it. And also, I will tell you, and Jamie, if you're listening, this might be something to address in future printings. That is awfully blurry. There's supposed to be a fine line. I think what happened is your outlines are too fat. There's supposed to be a fine line around your NCC, just like normal, and you can't see any space between the inner and outer on the NCC. I think I checked again just by looking at your instructions just to make sure it wasn't me, and you can see how it's nice and clean there with an outline around your registry, just like your typical. I mean, it's all in white, I get that, but you're supposed to have a space in the outline, and I'm not seeing it, and your other names are the same way. So I think just something in your file that we sent to the printer, maybe the outline is too fat or something, but that's something you might want to check. And if you're an aftermarketer decal maker and you can print white, there's an opportunity for you. If you want to make a replacement for that decal, you certainly could. You could make a package with all of the names and registries that were referenced in that one episode alone, and probably retire on the royalties from something like that. But yeah, that's I've had issues with round tooth decals before, technical issues with them, or how they were produced technically, and I think that history is repeating itself. I wish I could see a little bit more of the space. You can see where what they tried to do. I'm just thinking that is a technical boo-boo that could be easily rectified in the next round. So let's. I don't seem to see that problem with the other decals. Now, luckily, this is the first decal I've used off of this sheet because everything else I've painted. But let's see. And I don't see any white. White bleed on any of the other ones. So let's go ahead and start putting some of these nacelle decals in that are up away from the area where my paint is drying. I need the 23s and the 24s. Is there any difference in size? No, there's no difference in size between 23 and 24, so I can use them interchangeably. Okay, thruster decals are down. Now here's an issue. Here's a problem. Here's a thing. I've got 4 left. And I've got no direction of where they should go. I see what I've got on the box Let me check what they've got on their build to make sure that I am not forgetting anything. There's 1, 2, 3. No, I see just where I have put them is where the instructions say they should go. And I am not seeing anything additional. Now here's also something. Now I noticed on the model that is on the box cover that they have, well, they did this thing where you kind of wrap that down around the edge, down around the curve. The instructions say to lay it full face, on the top here, and not to wrap it. They say to put it right there, number 14. So that's how I've done it. Traditionally, these thruster decals do wrap around the edge of the saucer. They wrap around. Not doing that here because that's not what they've asked for. But I do have 4 additional left. So that would be 2 more top and bottom. Logically, they could go here and here. But again, they've not asked them to go anywhere, so I'm not going to put them anywhere. This has some rough paint on it still that needs to be sprayed. Once I spray everything with a flat coat, it should kind of unify and bring everything back in. But there is another round of touch-up that I need to do simply to the inserts here on these 4 inserts with the German gray paint. And that will be the last of the touching up. Then I want to take some red and green paint, since there's no room really to do the lighting. I want to do some red and green paint and just put little dots on either side of these insets as they represent red and green marker lights on the ship in the show. But there's a little raised detail for you to paint, but there's no way to really get a light into it. So I am just touching up these inserts. And then we are a simple flat coat away from being done. Okay, we are 1 flat coat away from being finished. Everything is wired up in the base. I'm going to give this, it's 2 o'clock now. I'm going to give this a couple of hours to dry. I usually like to end up work around 4, so we'll give this a couple of hours to dry and then we'll put a flat coat on it. Ba-boom. There you go. Now it's true that the awkward design of this ship means that base is running right in front of the deflector dish, or the post running up from the base is running right in front of that deflector dish. Does make it a little bit odd to display that way. Maybe if we do something like that, 3/4 it, you'll be able to see through it, and it looks a bit better. We've got our lower saucer light there. Got upper saucer light. Now the lightiness was a challenge, and there are some lights that could not be accomplished, at least not this time out. Maybe we'll try on the next go around, we'll try to put these marker lights in as actual lights instead of just painting them. But we still are missing a lot of the windows, particularly up in the saucer, because of that. And this should be a blue ring here. Maybe on the next iteration I'll figure out a better way to do that. But for right now, and for the accomplishment of getting the first one done, I think I've learned enough to take on to the next build. I'm really liking how this light is shining out. These red lights look nice shining out. I really wish that had the decal had been in better sharpness. I like how all of these are showing up. Again, not going to be able to do the edge ones, but doing the top, even back here, these windows are showing up. And of course, if we turn this all the way around, we can, and get underneath it, we can see the impulse engines underneath the saucer are lit up. But yeah, we'll come back to this, like I say, in a couple of hours and do the final flat coat. And that ends our excursion to the lower decks. The first of what I'm sure will be many Cali class builds. This is a fun kit. It's a challenge, and it's always a fun exploration the first time you take on a new build like this, a new model. Figuring out the best way to do it, figuring out, you know, where your shortcuts are, what stuff has to be done, what stuff has to be done in the right order. You know, I always think I know better than the people who design these things as far as construction. Oh, I can do it better and quicker than that. No, sometimes you have to read the instructions. It actually is helpful. Would love to see this in a larger scale. You know me, there's never been a model kit too big for my taste, but I would love to see this in a larger scale to where we could actually do a lot of fun stuff with the windows around the outside edges. Now, I'm betting some ingenious person out there with a really tiny white paintbrush is going to be painting on the windows on the edge of each of these hull sections and up into here. Keeping them straight would be the tough part. On the saucer rim, it would be one thing because you have these white or these raised ridges. It'd be easy to keep the windows lined up. On this top part, it would be tougher to keep them all in a straight line. But that's where the fun of model making is, to try to figure that kind of stuff out. So until we meet again next week, y'all be good, be safe, be smart. Have a happy New Year. We're coming up on New Year's. This next week I'll probably do a quick little rundown of the stuff that was built in 2024, but we'll find time to pull out something new from the shelf, I'm sure. So until then, as I said before, be nice. Be nice to each other. Be good, be smart. Be back next week.
I figured it was time for a new model.
Oh, it comes with an Esri and a Jedzia. Thanks, Tindy.
Let's never finish this one.